playing central defensive midfielder requires insane amount of discipline when you're on the pitch. Because you are basically the soldier on the pitch and the most important player to your coach's tactics. You must know what your position requires from you 100%, as well as what your coach wants you to do exactly. You take one wrong positioning as a central defensive midfielder, you're gonna be in trouble on the pitch, as well as you're gonna put your team in a dangerous situation. This is super important for you to be successful as a central defensive midfielder, to know and understand your role, as well as those instructions that your coach gave it to you for that particular game. You have a very specific job on the pitch. Doesn't matter what team you are playing against, but you're gonna be playing the role of being right in front of the center backs, as well as being right behind your center mids throughout the entire game. What you need to do as a central defensive midfielder will change almost every game. You're gonna be doing different things when defending and attacking according to the opposition that you're playing against. The most important attribute to a successful central defensive midfielder is the adaptability. You need to be super open to every different formation and every different tactics that you're gonna be getting from your coaches. Let's get more into tactical requirements of central defensive midfielder. Formations like 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3 or 4-1-3-2 are the more common formations to have traditional central defensive midfielder. But some of these formations you're alone, some of these formations that you're gonna be playing with a partner, which makes your job a bit easier because there are two of you. When you are playing with two holding midfielders or defensive midfielders, that you're gonna have more spaces to receive the ball, you're gonna have more spaces to be able to turn with the ball and create the game. But when you are playing alone, this is not gonna be the case. Yes, you're still gonna have to receive the ball to distribute the game, but more importantly, your job becomes more of a defending rather than attacking or creating the game. There will be more central midfielders where your teammates are gonna be looking to find, because you are gonna mainly be focusing on actually stopping the opposition from counterattacks or stopping the opposition when they are going through those channels that your central midfielders couldn't cover. When you are playing with two defensive midfielders, your job is significantly important. One of your job is significantly important. One of you dropping deep to receive the ball means that the opposition will be following you. One of them will be following you. That you created a space for your other defensive midfielder to receive the ball, or your other defensive midfielder, let's say, drops back as well with you. Now you're opening up space for your central midfielder to receive the ball. But your understanding each other when you're playing two holding midfielders is incredibly important, because this needs to happen. You both are there to create space for one another as well as for your other teammates to receive the ball. Your creating space ability is incredibly important, because when one of you is dropping deep to receive the ball, the other one most likely will need to stay higher up to receive the ball, closer to the central area. Personally, I like my central defensive midfielder to drop very deep, right in between the center backs, receive the ball and actually distribute the game from there. In case we lose the ball, we have extra body there to defend against a counter-attack. Most likely, as a central defensive midfielder, your technical skills are better than the center backs. So I'd rather my central defensive midfielders to create the game than my center backs. This really makes my center backs job more comfortable and easier. But again, that's my personal preference, because every coach will want something different from you. Some coaches don't want their defensive midfielders to come back that deep to receive the ball. Or if the opposition is really high pressing and you are dropping deep as a defensive midfielder, now we don't have as much time to actually receive the ball there and create the game from all the way back there, because opposition will be very high to stop this from happening. And this is when the opposition leaves gaps in the central areas, more central areas where your center midfielder can receive the ball, or your attacking midfielder or your wingers can receive the ball to create the game. And that's the good part about it. If they are coming high up to press, now we have gaps other places. If they're not coming really high to press, now we have space in the back line for our defensive midfielders to receive the ball. Very important attribute to a successful defensive midfielder is to be able to progress the game always forward, because it's easy for many players to just receive the ball and play it back to your center back or play it back to your fullbacks. But not every holding midfielder can progress the game forward. That's what separates an excellent defensive midfielder versus an average defensive midfielder. When you think about it, it's so much simpler for you to receive the ball and just play it back, right? You're not gonna have risk. You're not gonna have risk of turning with the ball. I'm not telling you that you should be turning with the ball. You need to learn to properly position your body that you don't need to turn, where you've already turned so you can receive the ball and you're facing the opposition's 18, not your own half. And that's what makes a good defensive midfielder, where you know exactly what's going on behind you, where you know exactly where the opposition is or your teammates are, so you can progress the game forward. Because if you receive the ball when your back's turned to the opposition, now you don't know what's going on back there, and you're gonna probably have to play it back simple to your center back. Sometimes you're gonna have the ball, your back turned to the opposition, but it's very important that after you play that ball back to your center backs, make sure you go to the space and now you're facing, and to receive the ball again and progress the game forward. You can't just pass it back to your center backs and stay there. You need to actually pass and then show to a better position where you can see the opposition, where you know where you're gonna go next. Being able to progress the game forward and sending those meaningful passes, not just to pass, but those meaningful passes where you are finding those channels, where you are distributing the game properly as a central defensive midfielder, is the hardest thing you can ask from a defensive midfielder. And that's why they are rare. And you need to be excellent at doing this. Watch players like Sergio Busquets or Luka Modric, see how they actually pass, show to a better position, to see the entire field after they make a move to the different place to receive the ball and seeing everything that's happening on the pitch. That's why your creating space abilities, your decision making, you being at the right place at the right time and positioning your body properly as a central defensive midfielder is incredibly important when it comes to your team's attack. Defensively, as a defensive midfielder, you are playing a massive role on the pitch. You need to know exactly where you need to be on the pitch as a defensive midfielder. Otherwise, you are not going to be a successful holding midfielder, defensive midfielder. One of the most important things to a successful defensive midfielder, you being able to stay on your feet. What I mean by this is you cannot slide tackle all the time. You have to be on your feet. You need to be jockeying. And those are the key attributes to a successful defensive midfielder, because your goal is to stall the game. So everybody else on the pitch takes a good position, takes their shape back. So you know the opposition cannot progress the game forward, as well as you are allowing your teammates to take the comfortable positions, and they can come to help you if they need to. Your center mid can drop, your other defensive midfielder partner can drop, and you can all help each other. But if you slide tackle, it's gonna be very easy for the opposition to eliminate you. You might win it with the slide tackle, but more importantly that you need to be staying on your feet to avoid and delay the opposition from making those incredible passes that could cause danger in your own net. When the opposition have the ball, your job is almost like sweeper, but in the central area. You're right behind the central midfielders and you're right in front of your center backs. Your goal as a defensive midfielder is to find those channels, find those gaps where your central midfielder is left open, in case if the ball goes through those channels. Because your central midfielders are the ones that gonna be tackling and closing those gaps first. And if they can't, and if they left spaces open, now you need to be aware 100% that if that ball goes through those channels that your central midfielders left open, you're gonna have to be able to see those gaps so this doesn't happen to cause threat on your own net. You are also one of those players that are very easy to get yellow cards, because you are the one dealing with those counterattacks, and most likely at some point you're gonna receive a yellow card. I would say the defensive midfielders are the ones that gets the most yellow cards in the world. I didn't look it up, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. And also the red cards most likely, because you are the first one to stop those challenges. You're gonna be the first one to stop those counterattacks. And that's why you need to be as smart as possible with your tackles and with your challenges, in the beginning of the game. The earlier you get a yellow card, it is harder for you to play the game, because you're gonna be playing like you're walking on eggshells, because you already have a yellow card. Now you can't be comfortably challenging the opposition throughout the entire game. So make sure you delay that yellow card as long as you can, so then you're more comfortable to make those challenges later in the game. You're gonna have to do some tactical fouls sometimes, which is gonna cause you yellow cards, and this is why you need to delay the first yellow card as late as possible. So your tactical fouls could be your first yellow card. You probably are gonna be the one that defends the most on the pitch, even more than your center backs, because you are the first one deals with these situations and deals with the opposition's attacks. You need to be aware, you need to be on your feet, and you need to be very smart about seeing those gaps, your center mids, your wingers, whoever is left open. And the quicker that you can stop the opposition attack, the better for your team, because your main job is to make as easy as possible for your center backs so they don't have to deal with it. You stop it right there. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please drop a like, subscribe to my channel with the notifications on. You can also find my playlist right over here. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you next time.